June 22, 1941, 3:15 a.m. The German-Soviet frontier stretches silent under a starlit sky, the air thick with the metallic tang of diesel and the low hum of idling engines. You can almost feel it, the ground trembling as panzer divisions rev up, their treads grinding the dew-soaked earth. Soldiers of the Wehrmacht, bundled in summer uniforms, clutch their Mauser rifles, hearts pounding with the thrill of impending victory. In the command tent, Adolf Hitler paces, his voice crackling over the radio. The Red Army is a house of cards, one push and it collapses. No warnings heeded, no lessons from Napoleon, just raw arrogance fueling the largest invasion in history, Operation Barbarossa. 3 million men, 3,000 tanks, 2,500 aircraft surge across the border like a steel tsunami. Luftwaffe Messerschmitts scream overhead, strafing Soviet airfields before pilots can scramble. Border guards crumple under the Blitz, their outdated T-26 tanks exploding in fiery blooms. In the chaos, a young German infantryman, Hans, advances through the mist-shrouded forests of Belarus, his boots sinking into mud that hints at deeper quagmires ahead. Laughter echoes among the troops as they overrun villages, capturing dazed Red Army conscripts by the thousands. "This'll be over by Christmas," they jest, mocking Stalin's forces as primitive, ill-equipped rabble. But as the sun rises higher, casting long shadows over the endless steppe, whispers of resistance flicker, isolated counterattacks, hidden bunkers spitting fire. The advance rolls on, unstoppable, or so it seems. July 1941. The sun beats mercilessly on the cracked earth of the Smolensk salient. Dust clouds rise like smoke signals as Panzer IIIs and IVs of Heinz Guderian's 2nd Panzer Group roar forward, engines howling, tracks chewing through wheat fields turn to powder. You see the Wehrmacht at its peak, infantrymen marching in endless columns, their gray uniforms soaked in sweat, rifles slung, singing marching songs that echo across the vast plain. Luftwaffe Ju-87 Stukas dive with their signature wail, bombs erupting in geysers of dirt and flame among Soviet positions. By mid-July, Army Group Center, under Field Marshal von Bock, has sliced deep, encircling hundreds of thousands at Minsk, then again at Smolensk. Over 300,000 Red Army prisoners shuffle westward, heads bowed, faces gaunt with shock. Yet cracks appear. Soviet troops, though disorganized, refuse to break completely. At Smolensk, Marshal Semyon Timoshenko launches furious counterattacks, waves of T-34 tanks, their sloped armor shrugging off German 37mm shells, crash into Panzer flanks. German crews stare in disbelief as their rounds ricochet harmlessly. Supplies stretch thin. Trucks bog down in sudden summer rains, turning roads to sucking mud. Horses drop from exhaustion, pulling artillery through quagmires. Hans, our young infantryman, crouches in a foxhole near the Dnieper River. He wipes grime from his eyes, watching distant fires light the night sky. "They keep coming," he mutters to his comrade. "We destroy divisions, and new ones appear." Laughter fades. The mockery lingers in Berlin. Hitler still boasts the Red Army is finished, but here, on the front, the steppe feels endless. And farther south, near Kiev, Gerd von Rundstedt's Army Group South faces even fiercer resistance. Panzers under Ewald von Kleist wheel toward the city, but Soviet armies dig in, trading space for time. The advance slows, just enough to let doubt creep in. October 1941. The calendar turns cruel. Near Vyazma and Bryansk, the golden fields of late summer have given way to gray, sodden earth. Rain falls in sheets, turning dirt tracks into rivers of mud that swallow half-tracks and artillery pieces to their axles. You feel the cold seep in, first as a damp chill through thin wool greatcoats, then as something sharper, biting. Panzer crews curse as engines seize in the muck. Mechanics labor knee-deep in freezing slurry, hands raw and bleeding. The legendary Blitzkrieg slows to a crawl. Army Group Center, still commanded by the iron-willed Field Marshal von Bock, claws forward another agonizing 200 kilometers, encircling yet another massive pocket, over 600,000 Soviet soldiers trapped. But the victory tastes bitter. Frost appears on helmets at dawn. Men wake to find their boots frozen solid to the ground. Fuel lines clog with ice crystals. The vaunted German supply lines, stretched across 1,000 kilometers of ruined rail and road, begin to strangle. Bread arrives moldy. Ammunition trucks are stuck 50 kilometers behind the spearheads. Hans huddles beside a smoldering campfire near the outskirts of Mozhaisk. His breath clouds white in the lantern light. "They said 6 weeks," he whispers to no one. 6 weeks, and Moscow would fall. His comrade, frost-rimmed beard trembling, only nods. In the distance, the low rumble of Katyusha rockets begins. Stalin's Stalin organs, shrieking death from the dark. The Red Army, bloodied but unbowed, has traded space for time, and now time is turning against the invaders. Snowflakes drift down, gentle at first, almost beautiful. They will not remain gentle for long. November 1941. The wind howls like a wounded beast across the snow-blanketed fields outside Moscow. Temperatures plummet to minus 30 degrees Celsius, turning breath into instant frost on scarves improvised from looted blankets. You sense the desperation now. The Wehrmacht's once mighty divisions reduced to shivering ghosts. Panzer engines refuse to start without fires lit beneath them. Fuel gels into useless sludge. Soldiers wrap their feet in newspaper and rags, but frostbite claims toes and fingers anyway. Field Marshal von Bock urges his men onward, binoculars fixed on the distant spires of the Kremlin, tantalizingly close at 30 kilometers. "One final push," he commands, his voice hoarse over crackling field phones. The 4th Panzer Army grinds through drifts, their Tiger prototypes rushed into service, bogging down where lighter T-34s somehow prowl. Artillery shells freeze in breaches, machine guns jam with ice. Hans stumbles forward in a whiteout blizzard, his Kar 98K rifle feeling like lead in numb hands. He passes frozen sentries, eyes glazed in eternal watch, their bodies stiff as statues. We mocked the winter, he thinks, teeth chattering, as comrades loot Soviet greatcoats from the dead. But Moscow's defenders, under General Georgy Zhukov, hardened like the ground itself. Fresh Siberian divisions arrive, clad in white camouflage, skis slicing silently through the snow. They wait, watching the Germans exhaust themselves against fortified lines, barbed wire entangled with frozen corpses. Then, in the dead of night, the counterattack erupts. December 5, 1941. Dawn breaks cold and merciless over the snow-choked forests west of Moscow. The temperature hovers at minus 40 degrees Celsius. The air itself seems to crack. You hear it before you see it, the deep rolling thunder of Katyusha batteries opening fire from concealed positions. Rockets streak upward in fiery arcs, then plunge into German lines with a sound like tearing metal. Fresh Siberian divisions, hardened by the endless taiga, surge forward on skis and in white-painted T-34s that glide over the frozen crust where German half-tracks sink to their bellies. General Georgy Zhukov has waited for this moment. He unleashes 1.1 million men, 7,700 guns, and 415 tanks in a coordinated hammer blow. The Wehrmacht, exhausted, frostbitten, and undersupplied, reels backward. Panzer crews abandon immobilized vehicles, hacking at frozen tracks with axes before fleeing on foot. Hans runs through waist-deep snow, lungs burning as bullets whip past, and artillery shells churn the white ground into black craters. He sees comrades fall, faces frozen in agony before they hit the snow. Field Marshal von Bock's headquarters fills with frantic radio calls. Divisions report entire battalions cut off, supply columns overrun. Hitler's order is adamant, no retreat. But the front is already crumbling. In some sectors, German troops fall back 20-30 kilometers in a single day, unthinkable distances for an army that had advanced 1,000 in months. The mockery is dead. The House of Cards was never the Red Army. It was the Wehrmacht's belief that winter would bow to their will. January 1942. The retreat from Moscow becomes a nightmare etched in ice and blood. Roads west of the city are littered with the hulks of abandoned panzers, their turrets frozen in useless angles, engines cracked by the unrelenting cold. Soldiers of the once invincible Wehrmacht drag themselves backward through blizzards, dragging sleds piled with wounded comrades whose blackened fingers and toes have already been claimed by gangrene. You see the human cost in every frozen face, Hans among them, limping on frost-bitten feet, wrapped in torn canvas, his greatcoat now a patchwork of looted Soviet fur and canvas. He passes columns of men who no longer march in formation. They shuffle, heads down, eyes hollow. Over 700,000 German casualties, killed, wounded, missing, or crippled by frostbite, mark the price of arrogance. Entire divisions vanish into the snow, cut off and annihilated by Zhukov's relentless counteroffensives. In Berlin, Hitler rages at maps, forbidding any strategic withdrawal. Hold or die, he orders. Yet the generals know the truth. The myth of German invincibility has shattered. The Red Army, reborn in fire and ice, has proven it is no house of cards. It is a fortress of will, enduring losses that would have broken any other nation. The wind carries the distant thunder of artillery eastward now. The mockery has reversed into ruin. The road to Berlin has begun.